Hey team, welcome to another MC Commute. I'm Zach. I'm gonna ride to the office. Today's guest, an old friend of mine, actually. That's Bob. Most people call him Fat Bob. He's got some updates for 2018, and we're gonna talk about it as we roll to the office here. I'm kind of excited. This is a little bit different thing for MC Commute. We don't usually do cruisers, but I'm ready to rock. Let's do it. Yeah, new chassis, new Softail chassis for 2018. That's sort of the big news, I guess. I don't know what else we got here. We got inverted fork, which is sort of like not really necessarily a Harley thing, which means you get these guards on here, which normally on a Japanese bike would be like plastic or carbon fiber or something, but on a Harley, that's solid metal. Little radiator hiding here. 107 cubic inches of Milwaukee muscle, Milwaukee 8. And I forget what they call this paint, but it's basically matte white. It's called like Bonneville Salt Matte. Bonneville, something about Bonneville Salt. Anyway, okay. Wake up, Bob. And a headlight. That's like probably my favorite part. That's really cool. There's a wacky little... yeah, Ari said it looked like Bender from Futurama. I agree. Okay, let's go, Bob. So I kind of forget already how many cubic centimeters 107 cubic inches comes out to be. The good news is you can look that up real easy. I think it's like 1740 or 1780 or 1748, 1746, whatever. It's a lot, is the point. It's a big engine. Best measured in cubic inches, not cc's arguably. It's just about 2 liters or in that neighborhood. And it's the old Milwaukee 8 here, right? So this is the 8-valve Harley engine that is relatively recent. Although when we first covered the Milwaukee 8, someone wrote into the magazine kind of interestingly and said Harley-Davidson made a 8-valve engine in like 1919, and sure enough, that was the thing they did in like World War I era or something forever ago. But in the modern era, it's a big step for Harley to have an 8-valve engine. And you get your precision cooling in there and so on and so forth. And it's all about that torque with the Milwaukee 8. We had it on our dyno and it makes 100 foot-pounds of torque, which is not nothing. I mean, it's not unheard of. Other big engines make 100 foot-pounds of torque, but it's significant and it works real well. The disappointing number is 71.5, which is how much horsepower it makes. So that's like approximately, I don't know, what else makes 70 horsepower? FZ07, SV650, something like those bikes, right? Approximately. And yeah, their engines are a third the size, basically. So I don't really know how to talk about horsepower and torque of a Harley engine without sounding a little bit disappointed. Sorry. It's not a performance bike, right? So I can't get too disappointed. I used to be a road racer. I'm a performance kind of guy. I see, you know, liquid cooling and 1700 cc's, and then I see 70 horsepower and I think, huh, that's interesting. But you know, Harley-Davidson got more money than the Queen. They can make horsepower if they wanted to, I assume. They just choose not to. And it's for doing this stuff like this. You know, cruising along. 40 miles an hour, 45 miles an hour. Taking in the scenery. Watching the planes take off. Watching the Toyota Highlanders go by. It moseys real nicely. Smooth. Makes a nice kind of mechanical grumble underneath you. It's good. And as we'll experiment with, it does actually make pretty good stomp. I mean, 100 foot-pounds of torque, it's not nothing, like I said. And yeah, it's also 30 something, 30 or 35 pounds lighter than the previous fat Bob. So it's lost a little bit of fat, the Bob. And so 675 pounds now after the diet. It doesn't make much sound, frankly. I know this sounds dumb, and I feel like every other person, and I feel like you guys are gonna make fun of me maybe, but I'd put some pipes on it. Not obnoxious ones, but just something so that I could hear some of that American iron. It's just so quiet. Red light. Brake test. It's actually something about the Fat Bob that I really, really enjoy, are the brakes. They're good. There's two big honking calipers up there, and you know, beefy rotors, and a whole lot of front tire. Might be I think that's why they started calling him Fat Bob. That's a 150 front tire, which is pretty big. That's like a rear tire on a lot of bikes. Anyway, the brakes are good. I like them. And Harley brakes aren't always good. Let's keep in mind. You compliment like BMW brakes, but they're basically always good. Harley brakes historically sometimes kind of dodgy, but these ones are quite good in my opinion. I don't know if I'd go so far as to call Fat Bob super comfortable, but it's pretty neutral seating position, and the seat's got a nice little cup or sort of butt stop at the back there. I don't know if you noticed. We'll take a look at that at the end. But it's pretty good. It sort of cradles your backside in a good way, and I've never really been a fan of the feet forward thing, but as far as this type of bike is concerned, it's pretty comfy, I think. It's kind of I mean, the reach to the handlebar is pretty good for me, but I'm a little over 6 feet tall, so for some people it might be like a little bit of a stretch. But yeah, it's pretty good. And like, they got the look down. It's like low flat handlebar, handsome dash right here. I do have some problems with the dash. I just wish it was here, but I understand why they did this. It's like sleek, and the little LCD in here actually works pretty well, I think. You can cycle through trip meters, range, clock. You can have digital RPM if you want to, but I kind of like the analog tack. It's pretty cool. Fuel gauge, and of course your speedo, so you know how fast you're going. So I change lanes to the right. I have to hit the blinker switch over here. Anybody who knows MC Commute knows that I love canceling the blinker, and it's one reason that I do not like the blinker system on Harleys, because you have to hit the right blinker to say right and then hit it again to cancel. Sounds simple enough, except that it auto cancels, which means you never actually know, if you're not looking at the dash, whether or not you've canceled your blinker, right? You can't actually know, because maybe it auto canceled and you're just turning it back on. So you have to look down at the dash and away from traffic ahead of you. And I just don't understand why it doesn't have a regular blinker switch. Maybe it's tradition or something. Please inform me if you have a theory on why they do it this way. Let me know. But man alive, is it annoying. It's a problem we've already solved. You just put everything over here, press to cancel, rocker switch. I don't get it. Like, sometimes my right hand is busy. It's in charge of going and stopping. So I don't want to, like, if I'm changing lanes necessarily, I don't want to reach over there with my thumb and ask my right hand to do something else. My left hand just sitting there. It could help out. All right, enough blinker rant for now, I guess. I'll try to resist. Still not dragging anything. Still not dragging anything. Actually, the old Fat Bob is pretty good for cornering clearance, in my opinion. It'll touch down eventually, but it doesn't do the V-twin thing of like dragging a foot peg when you leave a gas station or some BS like that. Yeah. This is opportunity to experiment with the torque. I'm stuck in traffic here. I'm going to merge into the carpool lane. I'm going kind of slow. Open the throttle at 1500 RPM. There you go, boom, 50 miles an hour. This little jaunt down the freeway, not so bad on the Fat Bob. The suspension's pretty good. It's just not very much of it, but it's pretty good. I think on a long journey, your lower back could get a little tired because you can't really put any weight on your feet. You just sort of sit on your tailbone, and that's life. And I end up kind of like slouching my back a little bit, and just, I call it the scofflaw slouch that you get on the Harleys. And I don't know, just sort of like designed to drop your shoulders a little bit, and you know, just telling everyone that they should worry about you. Look out, society, I'm riding a Harley-Davidson. But that's the price you pay for style, I suppose. And you do get a lot of that. Beats walking too. Now we're actually going freeway speeds, and this is when I usually complain about aerodynamics, which I guess I could because there's no windscreen or whatever. But I had a friend tell me one time, if you want wind protection, get a Corolla. I like that. Fat Bob, in the context of motorcycling, not uncomfortable. There's no windshield, but whatever. So, would I buy a Fat Bob? The answer is no. But that's just me, really. I would buy a Ducati Diavolo because to me that's the best cruiser that you can get. It's super badass and fast and leans over well, and I think it looks cool, and so that's what I would get. But you know, I'm like sort of a sport bike guy, so that doesn't really count. This isn't a sport bike. It's not for sport biking. Or is it? Yeah. I think it's probably one of my favorite Harleys, the Fat Bob. I like it. Oh, we're not going to back it in today. Woo. Look out. Mayflower coming through. It's rewarding in many ways. Not necessarily in the ways that I'm always looking for in motorcycling, but my opinion is not the gospel, people. Little Jix's 250R there. We're gonna do a commute on one of those too, promise. And then a Harley Heritage there next to it. It's sort of a sibling of this guy here. That's got the 114. I'm glad we talked about that, because that's something that you can get in this bike. The kickstand is super scary. I'll never understand it. It's like a typical Harley kickstand that doesn't allow slide forward, but it like catches on the ground kind of, and then you're not sure if it caught, and then it like slips, and it freaks me out a little bit. Okay. There you go. There's your 107. There's your Fat Bob. I mean, look at that thing. It's a pretty handsome bike. It's like burly, mean looking. It's really cool. It's sort of beyond cool. That's what Harley-Davidson does. That's why they sell so many bikes. The cool that they capture is sort of indefinable, immeasurable. I'm a little bit smitten every time I ride a Harley, even though it's not something I think I could ever convince myself to buy unless I had some other faster stuff waiting for me in the garage back home. Anyway, Fat Bob, there he is, that he do. See you guys next time.